Hello everyone, it's been a while since I've done a video on my channel, so I'm going to come back with a quick review of the new Bejamin Akela. So it's my first bull pup, so let's just go ahead and get right into the features this gun has. We'll start at the beginning, at the front. So fully shrouded barrel, this one is a 22. To fill the gun, it is still a male Foster fitting, just like the Marauders are, but instead of a screw-on cap, you have just a slip-on dust cover with an O-ring seal that snaps into place. Walnut stock. Comes with a very long Picatinny rail attached to the middle of the gun. So there's lots of room there to put on any optics you want, like my 3 to 12 Bug Buster, which, because it's a small, light, compact scope, I figured it was appropriate for a bullpup. The trigger assembly is 2-stage. It is adjustable for pull weight. It also has the ability to loosen this tiny little screw. I don't know if you can see it in the screen there. But then you can adjust its position on the trigger shaft. So it can twist, it can slide up and down. So it's a very customizable trigger. Also in the trigger guard is the safety. So it is forward for fire and back for safe. Alright, and walnut hollowed out stock, side lever, of course. It works very smoothly. At first it felt like a little drag, but that didn't take very long for it to work out and get nice and smooth. The cheek rest is an added on piece, because of course the bullpup, they just took the action from the full-sized rifle and put it into a bullpup stock. So this would normally be your scope mount on the rifle, so they made it the cheek rest. With this, it's a little plastic piece. It has a lock on it so that you can slide it on and position it anywhere on this little bit of Picatinny that you want it to be. I keep it fully forward. It is also vertically adjustable. Just loosen off that brass screw and you can adjust it up and down. Tighten it back down to the position desired. I have noticed there is a little bit of play when it's at the high position, just a tiny amount, hardly noticeable, but I also keep it low, because even with the high rings for the Bug Buster, the low position is where I get the best sight alignment. Rubber butt pad. It has sling studs front and rear, and also right here, this is a port that you can put a small piece of Picatinny rail that shipped with the gun. I've got it right here. Let me set that there for a second. Right here, this little bag of extras that came with the gun. So there's a few O-rings in there, a little piece of Picatinny rail. It is polymer plastic, so it's not a piece of metal rail like this, like the rest of the gun is. So I haven't checked it out too much. I don't plan on putting it on there anytime soon because I don't have a bipod that attaches to Picatinny. I may not even use a bipod at all with this gun ever, because it's for my walking around gun for clearing pests and such off my property. Now it also came with a Foster adapter. Oh, a little O-ring fell out of that. A little Foster adapter. So if your pump or your fill whatever doesn't have male Foster on it, they gave you one, so you can put it on there if you need it. Thought that was pretty nice, because, you know, lots of different guns have lots of different ways to fill them. Okay, magazines. This is something different, especially from the Marauders. So I've got a mag from my 25 Marauder. They are opposite from each other. Now, they still load the same, similar. You still open it up the same way. So if you've got it down, you press it up. Just the same. Spin it around. Actually, I did that the wrong way. It's taking some getting used to since I'm so used to my Marauder. As the Marauder goes up, the new Akela magazine, you push down. It has an arrow if you're actually looking at it. So you spin it around the same way that you do the Marauder. It's very similar. It has a hole you have to cover with your finger, put the first pellet in, and then rotate it so you can start filling them up. And that goes the same way. And now, remember on your Marauder, we have the clear back towards you so you can see it. It slides in this way into the gun. Well, the Akela, you still face it back so you can see your pellets. They slide in this way. So they go in from the same side of the gun, but opposite directions. So I'll show you here real quick. Now this also took some little getting used to, because the Marauder was indexed with that grooving in there against the back of the barrel. This one's different. This one has a little raised line on it on the back of the magazine, so we can get it, kind of see it there with the shadowing with the light. And then there's a slight little groove right at the top of the block. It's kind of hard to see in the video with the lighting, but that lines up. So it's taken some getting used to. I'm still getting used to putting the magazines into the Akela. It's just because I'm so used to my Marauder. Alright, that is about it. That's all I can think of. Oh, the power adjustment. How could I forget that? That's one of the big things about this gun. So the power adjustment knob is right here, right next to the magazine well. So it rotates fully clockwise. It is very stiff. So it rotates clockwise for full power and counterclockwise for low power. And it has an indicator on the other side of the gun. So right here, right next to the pellet picture. So positive hash for full power, negative mark for low power, and then 3 hashes in between those. So when you have it fully rotated to full power, you can see the little slot on the groove on there lines up with the forward hash. So I'm going to go that as full power, straight up and down as medium, and then fully counterclockwise as low power when I'm doing the power testing. Speaking of power testing, I am going to do all of it with Crosman Premier hollow points. So 14.3 grain all lead pellet. So the Akela, as advertised, says it can do 32 foot-pounds at up to 1,000 foot per second. They don't mention what weight pellet was used to get that number. It also says you can get up to 60 shots per fill. Of course, that's going to be on the low power setting. So we're going to do shots. I'm going to start the gun for high, medium, and low power at a full 3,000 psi fill. And I'm going to shoot down until I see a noticeable drop in velocities. And then that'll be the end of that shot string. So we'll count how many shots we can get at high power, how many we can get at medium, how many we can get at low, and then we'll do the math for energy. And I'm going to keep track of cylinder pressure off the onboard gauge as I shoot beginning and end of each magazine. That's the plan. Alright, if I think of anything else about the gun as we're going along, I'll just go ahead and slide it on in further down in the video. Alright, I'm going to get going, and next I'll come back with, we'll start chrony testing for velocities and then do the shot counts. Alright, see you in a bit. Okay, power testing, Crosswind Premier hollow points on the high power setting. I'm going to start at a full fill of 3000 psi and then shoot it down until I see the velocities dropping off real far, and then we'll call it quits and count the shots. Alright, here we go. Okay, that's the first magazine down, and now the gun is reading about 2550. And the velocities have already dropped off over 30 psi, or 30 feet per second. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the second magazine just to see how far it'll drop on 2. Alright, so there's 2 mags through it, so 24 shots, and now the gun is reading at 2200 psi. So I'm going to punch this into my calculator, and we'll get some averages that I'll post onto the screen, and then we will use that to try and find the sweet spot. Okay, I'm going to air it back up and come back for medium power. Okay, here we go. Full 3000 psi fill, medium power setting. Got 2 mags, so I'm probably going to reload in the middle of this. Let's see how many shots we can get. Alright, 12 shots and we're down to 2600 psi. Oh, forgot to check pressure. So we are at 2400 psi. Alright, well I think 3 mags is pretty much it. And now we're down to, yeah, 2100 psi. Alright, so I'm going to go air it up again, and we'll come back for the low power setting. Alright, going on the low power setting, 3000 psi fill. Let's see how many shots we get. It's 2700 psi. Wow. 2600 psi. Okay, that mag's done, and now we're at 2400 psi. My crony stopped counting because it limits the memory to, what is it, 32 shots that it keeps in memory. About 2250 psi. We are at 2150. Okay, so I took all those numbers you just saw, and I was trying to get some best groupings, spreads, little strings. So in high power, you notice that it started high velocities and then just dropped. No curve like we see in a lot of other unregulated guns. So high power is just a straight velocity drop. So the best 12 I got out of it, I decided to use just magazine multiples instead of actually going for the very best numbers. So 2800 psi down to 2400 for 12 shots with a spread of about 31 feet per second and an average velocity of 967 and an average energy of around 29 foot-pounds. So I did the same thing with at the medium power settings. Looked at those numbers, and those ones also started high and just dropped off. No curve again. And also, best 24 started at 2800 down to 2400 psi. So in medium power, you get twice the shots at the same amount of pressure loss. with their spread was about 28 feet per second from on it. Their average velocity was 855. Not a huge drop from high power, and neither was the energy. The foot-pounds on medium power is around 23 averaged out for those 24 shots. So it's showing me there's not a huge difference between high power and medium power setting on that gun. But, at least for velocity and energy, but efficiency, it's much more efficient at medium than at high power. So for general hunting, just going out and hunting rabbits and whatever, I think I'm going to use it at medium power. So I can get 24 shots at medium power with more than enough energy to take rabbits out even to 100 yards if I can get shots on them at that far, especially in my very brushy terrain that I'm in. But here's the kicker, going to low power. Like I said, camera cut off on me, so you didn't get to see all the shots. But I took 72 from a 3,000 PSI fill, and that was all the way down to 2,000. Got 72 shots. And you saw the first shot was 533, and the second was 553. I think maybe there was a little valve locking on that first one. So if I just drop that first shot off, we go from about 550 feet per second up to about 582 feet per second on the 14th shot I took. And then it starts dropping back down to around 550 for that 70-second shot. So, guns advertised for up to 60 shots, but I got up to 72. So the spread on those 72 shots, because like I said, I dropped that one off, was around 29 feet per second, with an average of around 572 and an average energy of 10 foot-pounds. So at low power, you've got a great small pesting gun. I mean, 72 shots at 10 foot-pounds, that's a lot of rats in a barn. Or ground squirrels at under 50 yards. So when I go out pesting, if I got a lot of them I'm going to have to take care of, and I'm not going to be taking long-range shots, maybe I'll just go low power. I mean, 72 chances at ground squirrels and rats is a lot of shots. So there's numbers. I think I'm going to end this video here. We're going to do outside shooting, weather and time permitting. Winter's coming on here already. So yeah, I've already got a couple of inches of snow outside. It's not melting away yet, and it's only Halloween today. So like I said, weather and my time permitting, because it's busy time of year for my work, I'm going to do some outside shooting and get some accuracy testing in. And so I'll see you with that on the next one. Bye.